There's hardly a soul in the United States that hasn't heard of Ellis Island. It places prominently in all our school history books. Countless movies, books, television series connect a character story to their family coming through there. Ellis is one of the most easily understood and visceral landmarks in the nation's history, and today the site is controlled and maintained by the National Park Service. But the museum that most people visit is only one part of a sprawling complex on the 27-acre island. There is an entire hospital wing with support buildings that you can only visit through special hard hat tours. And please, believe me when I say, these tours are worth it. The first thing you need to know about these tours is that their name isn't playful. They actually require you to wear a hard hat on the tour because of the environments you'll be going through. You see, these tours take you into areas that visitors are otherwise restricted from entering because, well, the buildings are in a state of decay. Tour guides will only take you to safe places in the complex, but they don't want any unexpected stray piece to, fall on your head. On the tour itself, you'll be part of a small group, which could mean as many as 30, but it could also mean just a handful. The tour we went on had just 8 of us. The tours are emotional, giving names and sometimes faces to the real people that came through there. Sometimes their tales end in joy, others end in sorrow, and all the journeys took deep courage. And perhaps the most surprising of all the things I learned is how compassionate this system really was. Now, I don't want to imply that there wasn't plenty of tragedy within the walls of Ellis, but hearing the lengths that the hospital workers went through to care for patients is honestly inspiring. The sometimes terrible realities faced by the people and the heart-wrenching decisions made by the family members is almost unfathomable, and the fact that so much empathy existed for them by the staff charged to manage this entire process is admirable. Although Ellis Island's immigration building was opened in 1892, its roots date back further in U.S. history. Its first recorded use was as a military fortification in the 1790s, during rising tensions with Britain and France. Since the island's natural state would have left it submerged at high tide, it's unlikely that there were earlier permanent human uses. The U.S. military, though, did make good use of Ellis Island, and its neighbor, which is now known as Liberty Island. They constructed forts on each of them, which were important defensive structures in the War of 1812, helping to protect New York Harbor. Although little remains of the original fortifications, the Statue of Liberty is constructed on one of them. Fort Wood, completed in 1811, now serves as the pedestal for the statue. The military uses for the two islands faded following the U.S. Civil War, and by 1890, the federal government took over immigration within the entire country. Previously, that had actually been left to the states. In that same year, Congress ordered the construction of the first federal immigration site on Ellis Island. The fortifications were torn down, and the first immigrant stations replaced them. It was completed in 1892, but it burned down in 1897. Fortunately, there were no recorded casualties. The second immigration station was opened in 1900, and this time it was built to be fireproof. Or at least more fireproof. This is the building that we're familiar with today, although it has been significantly expanded since its original construction. The first expansions included a ferry house, a hospital, and a kitchen with laundry facilities. Later expansions were made to include a contagious disease ward, greenhouse, and even growing the island itself. Immigration to the island was in the hundreds of thousands per year from its opening until the outbreak of the First World War in 1915. During the war, immigration to the island collapsed to mere tens of thousands. Although immigration rebounded to more than 500,000 after the war ended, new and highly restrictive immigration laws were passed and brought about an end to the era of mass immigration. Now, there is a great deal of very important history that I'm glossing over, and a great deal more that I haven't even covered. After all, despite my history degree and training, my job here and now is not to give a seminar at Ellis and immigration history, despite an intense desire to do so and go on and on about interesting things that you likely don't know. Like, I bet that you haven't heard about the Black Tom explosion that damaged the immigration station on Ellis and was actually caused by spies from Germany that set fire to the stockpile of munitions, and it was the largest explosion in... I'm being told that I need to stop by my producer. As I was saying, my job is to entice you to travel to interesting places. It's the job of the guides on the hard hat tours on Ellis Island to tell you about the fascinating history. Seriously though, I'm leaving out a lot on purpose because that's the point of the tour. If you care about the preservation of Ellis Island and the facilities on it, you should do one of these tours. The proceeds go to Save Ellis Island, a National Park Service partner whose goal and purpose it is to preserve and restore the 29 buildings on the south end of the island. Now, as surprising it may seem today, most of the island's facilities were abandoned after its closure in 1954, when it had been serving as a detention facility and military complex once again. The structures sat there, exposed to the elements for nearly 20 years. During that time, there were multiple proposals to redevelop the island into private use for either high-rise residential or even hotel accommodations. But all of those fell through. And in the mid-1960s, the National Park Service proposed to redevelop the island into a national monument. And even though the Johnson administration quite liked the idea and pursued it, nothing happened during that period. It wasn't until the 1970s when any renovations began, and the National Park Service only took 100 or so visitors there each day. Nearly 20 years later, in 1990, the main building completed its renovations to the point that it was reopened to visitors. Not long after, additional renovations had been completed, allowing the north side of the building to reopen. The original ferry building was renovated as well, and it was opened to visitors in 2007. It took 30 years to reopen 3-ish buildings. Yes, they are large buildings, but it still took 30 years. There are 29 more buildings on the island that haven't been restored. Now, the mission of Save Ellis Island isn't necessarily to restore every building in the same way the main building has been. Right now, the mission is to bring the other buildings into a state of arrested decay, which preserves them from falling into further disrepair. As you might imagine, that takes a fair amount of time and resources. By taking one of these hard hat tours, you help support that effort. You get to personally help preserve American history. You learn things you never knew, and you get to go places you never thought you could go. At least for me, I literally cannot think of anything else I would rather do than those 3 things. Did I want to make you take one of those tours? I hope so. And if I was successful, we can help you get there. As you might have guessed, we are a travel agency, and if you are looking to book a trip to a resort, take a cruise, or just get away for a few days, we can help with that. Each year, we book hundreds of vacations for individuals, families, and large groups We've got years of experience and first-hand knowledge to make sure you get the best trip possible with support all along the way. Our team of travel professionals can help find and book the best rates and discounts for your trip because it's our job. So don't book on your own. Use our expertise and book with us so we can help get you far, far away.